Hello, Flying Doctor here. I thought it might be helpful to put together a video that will be helpful to people who are looking to explore starting with X-Plane 11 and flight simulation. It gives you the opportunity to begin looking at the principles of flight and to work inside a simulator where certain things such as the instrumentation are exactly the same as they would be on the real aircraft, but also it's a kind of geek's paradise really. The great thing about X-Plane in particular is that it allows you to get enjoyment whether you're simply interested in flight or whether you're interested in the design of aircraft or instrumentation. It's hugely customizable, and a lot of those add-ons, as we shall see, are free, and then there's paid add-ons as well. So it's a kind of geek's paradise. Okay, so if you're interested in X-Plane, you can download the free X-Plane 11 demo from the X-Plane website. And the other place that you're able to get it is via Steam. It's well worth looking at additional software to help you configure what will be multiple monitors. You're probably thinking now, if you've just got one glorious monitor or a large TV screen, you're probably thinking that's all you need. But I can guarantee you, by the time that you've started to run X-Plane and see how the add-ons work and see the need to display information in different places, you need something, I would say, better than what Windows 10 provides to help you manage your programs. I use a program called Display Fusion Pro because it allows me to accurately position the monitors where I want them. It also allows me to be able to save particular layouts, which is really helpful because I may well think, well, I'm at work now. Honest, I'm at work and I don't want to be on my flight sim and I just want to use this monitor, and then when the flight simulator's on, all I need to do, I want to use that, all I need to do is press a single button. Okay, in terms of yokes and pedals, you don't actually need a yoke or a pedal to start in X-Plane. It's quite possible to operate and learn a great deal just using the keyboard and the mouse, but many people feel that it's helpful for that extra sense of immersion. So yes, there's the option of yokes and pedals, but also there's other means of providing a greater sense of immersion. And one of those is by looking to use instrument panels, which we've got here. So here's just an example of the flight switch panel. There are other forms of panels that are available that you're able to source. You're able to find radio units as well, and units that can help you manage the autopilot system. So you can actually build for yourself a kind of, not quite a replica of what exactly is going to be there in the Cessna, but a lot of people do take the kind of construction of their home cockpit seriously. So it's just at whatever level that you want to get involved. The contents of the X-Plane directory includes all of the folders and files required to run the program. These can be customized by adding to the folders. One of the crucial ones here is called custom scenery, and effectively you're able to enhance X-Plane by adding to this list of custom sceneries. Now my folders are coloured here, they're coloured so I know exactly what they are. For example, the blues here are additional airports, the purples are additional libraries that are required for those airports to run. As soon as you get into X-Plane, the first thing that I'd say is to go to the xplane.org community website. Here it is, and here you do just see the commitment from the wider community to provide resources, and you can just go here to downloads and you can find new planes, new scenery, or new utilities, a whole host of stuff. So for example, if I'm interested in scenery, I just click on that and I can see the top sceneries of the year. Princess Juliana International Airport enhanced, and you click on this. Put very simply, you'd need to sort of look up this. Some airports have more requirements than others. You would take that folder and you place it here in your custom scenery. There are, as you can see here, some additional folders, and you would download these. For example, 3D People Library, you would download these and you may well have to unzip them. There's plenty of help on that though, and they go in exactly the same place. They go into your custom scenery folder. The purples here are those additional scenery files. You'll get used very quickly to customizing your installation. In addition to this lovely jubbly community scenery, you have of course got paid for scenery as well, so you can jump over to the X-Pane.org store, and here you can find that there's high quality payware. It has to be said that some of the freeware software that's offered is of just as good quality as the paid for. When you start getting to the higher level of paid for scenery, that you're in a completely different ball game. But actually there are some extremely good airports out there with incredible detail that are in fact better than the quality that you would get in payware. I also use True Earth software from Orbix. There are other designers out there, of course. Orbix produced a program called Orbix Central that you can see is sort of running here at the moment, that links in with the store, but crucially it enables you to see immediately what Orbix products that you have. The way in which Orbix demonstrates what scenery you have and the level of detail is excellent. There are other folks out there, but I just thought it might be helpful to demonstrate this. So yeah, so Orbix itself is well worth a look. Another thing in terms of arranging the scenery is a nice little program. Okay, doesn't cost very much, X-Organiser, because one of the problems you'll find is it's not just about throwing your sceneries into your custom scenery folder, it's that the sceneries need to be ordered. I've just started up X-Organiser here, and what it does is it scans the sceneries to spot any changes. Oddly enough, I've just done 2 updates with Orbix. Orbix have told me, we've updated our sceneries, and that's come through here. It's a very simple program to use, but what it does is it prioritizes all of your sceneries and helps you organize them. It also is really useful because it means that you can say choose to be looking in one area. So I'm only really interested in the United Kingdom at the moment. I recognise that some of the additional sceneries that I have that's been freeware are not compatible with others, so they are blocked out. Whenever you get a new scenery, very often it's blocked out, so you bring it back again. I've just brought back London Wickham because that's been updated. And other features that come alongside the scenery objects are listed in here. I can do a much more detailed roundup about X-Organiser and how it works. It allows you to control the plugins that enhance things and select which plugins are running. They work in a similar way to custom scenery. You download them, they're in a folder, you put them in the plugins folder or a folder within the plugins folder. In the case of Lua, Fly with Lua, these add extra functionality to your flight. So one big one here is SkyMax, and that's a bought-for plugin. It enhances the clouds. So yes, X-Organiser is a really useful tool. Beyond that, I would begin to start saying that the crucial thing that you're going to want to do is arrange your navigation. And that's a real challenge, actually. I mean, one of the good things about Orbix is it demonstrates what airports you have, and it's also true of X-Organiser. You can look at X-Organiser. I'll bring it back up again here, and it will show you the airports that you have that are installed. So there's the airports that are installed that I've said that I want the program to look at, and I can look at the coverage as well. I can see where my regional Orbix scenery is. There we go. I can see where my airports are. I can see all kinds of details, but Organiser's still not quite there, but it's getting there. In terms of visualizing where your airports are, there's a great little program called Little Navmap. Now, let's not forget that X-Pane comes shipped with airports, so anything that you're adding is enhanced. But this is a really good program that I found to help plan a flight. There's another program that I'll talk about as well, which is called SimBrief. We'll start with SimBrief. It's probably the crudest way to begin planning a flight. So I'm just going to log in, and it doesn't cost anything to set up an account with SimBrief. So SimBrief allows you to plan a flight between two airports, and all the airports, as you'll find out, have a 4-letter code. I'm going to go back to Navmaps, and I'll talk more about Navmaps, which is the program that was open later, but don't worry for the moment, and I'll come back. So let's say that we want to fly from London City Airport, that's EGLC, and where would we want to go? Let's just say we want to go to Edinburgh. So EGLC, you need to remember that, Edinburgh. EGPH, EGLC, EGPH. And whether you look up the locations using Little Navmap that I'm going to talk majorly on today, or whether you want to look up the airports separately on something like Wikipedia, you'll get a 4-letter code. There's multiple codes and formats for labeling airports, but you're looking for the ICAO code. So we're looking from EGLC to EGPH. That's the thing to remember, EGLC to EGPH. So I am going to look at a flight plan now. There was a previous one that was generated. I'm going to click on new flight here, EGLC, EGPH. Okay, so I've inputted those into the dispatch options here. Okay, now there's an automatic sort of thing you can pop in the airline. We call it ZZZ, flight number 1000. But the crucial things, the departure and arrival, and immediately it's worked out an alternate for us. So this can be used very effectively for smaller journeys and light aircraft, but also works probably much better and provides you the kind of information you need if you're flying a heavier aircraft. So the date and the time you're leaving. The aircraft type, it automatically uses the aircraft type, and I will be flying a light aircraft, say a Cessna 172. And there we go, 172R. That affects all kinds of things like the fuel consumption and things like that, the cruise profile. And so just down here, there's some optional entries that we don't really need to worry about. It picks a route, and here you can see the route here on the map, and it's got these little way markers on it. Okay, and it's also got a diversion there, so if there's any problems, it's EGCC. And then it records, effectively, it records this. And what we can now do is that we can generate a flight plan by pressing this button here. Yes, I do. It'll take a little while. There we are. It's generating the package for us. And bang. There we go. So what we've now got is a much more in-depth view of the flight plan. And we're able to zoom in, zoom out. We're able to look at all kinds of data here. We don't really have the opportunity to look at the data, but it's got the obviously the markers, the navigational aids that we're using, and it's got the height that we're looking. It's got the wind conditions, all on here. So it's a kind of duplication of the basic flight information that you would get and be expected to read through should you be doing a live flight. So there's lots of warnings on here saying do not use this for real flying. And then crucially, we can come down to the bottom here and we can download what's called an FMS plan. Okay, now this is where we've got to sort of know what we are doing. So we download, and then there's a place where this FMS file goes. If you go to your X-Pane 11 folder, you'll find an output folder here. And if it's not there, you need to create a folder called FMS Plans with exactly this spelling, FMS Plans. If I click on that, you'll find that it's got lots of text documents in it. And what I've got is I've got the 4 letters codes for the airport from and to and 01 at the end. Okay, I press save there. And it's important that we remember that file name. Okay. Now you can also convert this to PDF, which is quite useful in itself. You can get a much steadier view of this, and I found this to be absolutely sort of fascinating when you're planning routes. Also tells you what else is going on. And then this is where Little Navmap comes in as a really useful tool. So Little Navmap, you can download this. It's a free program which you can download. If I just type it in Google, Little Navmap, okay, there we are. It's a program. The installation there is pretty clear. When it installs, it'll ask to show you where the X-Pane directory is, and it'll install a separate plugin, and it'll install the program in itself. And what the plugin does within the program is it connects to this Navmap, which can be on a separate screen, showing you where you are and tracking your flight all the time. Okay, so let's go back to the program, because in terms of how things work together, this is, I think, potentially really, really useful. Okay, so I'm just going to walk you through some of what you can do with the program before we go back to that FMS plan that we created before. When the program opens like that, you get this kind of, well, all of the information thrown at you here, which is a bit overwhelming. But don't be too freaked out about it, because we're able to clear off what we don't need. Just think about that as kind of a sort of a subsequent layer of tracing paper with lots of different information on which we can lose. The first thing is, in terms of, I showed you the SimBrief kind of way of inputting the start and the end of a journey, and the good thing about Little Navmap is it helps you find an airport anywhere in the world. So if I go back and if I just type London, just below you can see here it's got all of these London airports. And what's even better than that is if I'm interested in flying from London City, if I click on that, you'll find that I'm directed straight away to London City, and that I've also got the airport on the left here to see. I don't think you're able to see that fully, but it will show here. So let's just talk very briefly about how we might plan a route, and I'll show you how to do that manually. So we can customize this. We don't actually need this particular section there. The information around the airport's useful. We've got runways there, communications there, procedures. We've got the nearest airports if we were thinking of heading to London but wanted to divert. We've got weather information, how to get hold of that, all kinds of things, navigational aids. We're not going to touch that for the moment, and we also don't need to see the other simulation aircraft, but we will actually be putting together a flight plan. Okay. Now I'm going to show you how to put together a flight plan manually, and also how to import one. Okay, so let's just say that I did a flight recently from Damshall, which is an aerodrome just very close to London City Airport itself for light aircraft. And if I just go onto the Damshall runway, sort of, you see this circle which is indicating airport, right click here, and you can see that I've got a range of options, and one of them is set airport Damshall as flight time departure. There we go. Okay, and then it's a case of clicking and dragging with the left mouse button. I just happen to know that, for example, if I want to have a look at this bridge here, that one way of doing it is to come round the side of the bridge and skirt it, so we will see it out of the starboard side of the aircraft as we're flying. Now, a little bit of experience tells me, but before I aimed up for Blue Water Shopping Centre, which is around this side. But actually I found that I was a bit too close to the bridge and the views weren't great. So I can see a navigational marker here. Can you see this pink thing? It's just a navigational marker. Right click on that, add waypoint to plan, and you can see that you've got a line here which is indicating the flight, and you've also got on the left hand side on the top here, you've got the beginnings of a flight plan. Okay, and you can carry on doing that. I may well say, well, okay, I'm going to go right across so we get a good view across the bridge. So I'm going to use a navigational aid, but I may as well, if I'm going to use one, I may as well use that one there. And so it's a waypoint. Right click on there, add waypoint to flight plan. Okay, and you can see that we've got a flight plan that's beginning to be established. What's interesting is that I can simply make my own waypoint. I don't necessarily need to have it as a navigational aid that's there and then. So if I just decide I want to fly over, or I'll have the M25 interchange in sight there, I just right click here and then I move down to add position to flight plan, and there it is. It's actually called WP1. Now, in some aircraft, that well, all the navigational aids that will appear if there's a digital display. So I might not just want WP1. So if I double click on it, it'll take me to WP1 anyway. But I'm pretty sure it says edit flight plan position is the way to do it. And you'll see that if I edit the position, although it'll let me edit the latitude and longitude, I'll actually edit the name. So I'm going to put M25 roundabout. Now, you've got to remember that even though I put roundabout there, but on the flight displays it will only show a few characters, so you've got to be quite discerning in what you're showing. But there you go. Okay, and you can see there that you've got the formation of a flight in itself. Let's just say that I'm interested in landing, doing a quick circuit going across Dartford and landing at London City Airport. Well, let's see and reason that we are going to double back on ourselves here. We can add the waypoint to the flight plan there. Now, something very interesting has happened. One of the things about Little Navmap is that it kind of finds the most efficient route, and that's added it right the way earlier in on the flight plan. But there's no need to panic because we know what the marker is, and that's actually going to be at the end. And so that marker that begins with a D is up here. If I press Control and I press arrow down, it will go down for me. Okay, now that's a really important trick, because if there's something that I was going to share with people as you were planning a flight plan, that would be it. And then it's fairly simple to just click on the airport again. Sometimes you'll find not the airport but the object you want, this blue here. Right click and it says set airport London City as flight plan destination, and there we go. Okay, so what we've actually got there is a nice little tour going round across the Thames, view of the Queen Elizabeth Bridge, backing in ourselves, and then on the final towards the final descent into London City Airport. Okay, you can notice below that we've got some altitudes here that are adjustable. You're able to fix these, but crucially it's telling you where the ground lies, so you're going to be well above the ground. But I do happen to know, just out of interest, that the descent path going down to London City is quite steep. But what I would tend to do is stick at 1,000 feet or 1,500 feet and then intersect the glide path. But the point is that you're able to put a route together. Now, what we can then do is that we can save the flight plan. We need to do it in two different ways, I would suggest. Save the flight plan as PLN, which contains more detail, but is suitable for Little Navmap. So it's actually saying, it's interesting, the start airport has parking spots, but no parking was selected. So do I want to start from a parking position? Well, I'll select start position. It's offering me, it's saying, do you want to go from runway 3, runway 21, or a ramp, and move from a ramp to thing? I actually know that I'm wanting to head right, aren't I? So if I go runway 3, then turn right, 03, there we go, and I've just told, so it knows what it's doing, and then it's saying, okay, I'm ready to save it, and it's jumped straight away here. It's actually jumped to the FMS plans because that's the last place that I used to serve this. Now, the FMS plans in X-Pane 11, the output file for SMS plans, it won't be disturbed if you save files of another format. X-Pane just won't see them. But IFR Damshall EGML to London City, so we'll just save that in there. Okay, now that won't work in X-Pane 11, but for reasons that I'll sort of show later, we actually need to save it as an X-Pane 11 flight plan and in the same place. So I'm going to click that, and you get a few warnings because the FMS format doesn't allow for ground speed, departure position, and there are one or two limitations here, but nevertheless we can save it as an FMS 11. Okay, and there we go, EGLM, EGLC, and save there. Okay, Right. Now the other thing that I just thought I might show you, I'm going to clear all this off, and you remember we're going to go back to, I gave you that illustration to reset all for a new flight. I gave you that brief illustration of how to plan a flight using SimBrief, a flight up to Edinburgh, which automatically generated with these waypoints, but we can't, obviously, we haven't got them in front of us here on Navmap, but fear not, because if we open up our flight plan list, we'll be able to find the plan that we'd put together, and it was saved as an FMS file, if you remember. EGLC EGPH01 was the flight plan ourselves. So we're going to open that up, and bingo, there you go. There is our flight plan, and you can see all the markers here. It's probably worth saying, when we look at this sort of incredible, it just looks like some kind of, it's kind of frightening, isn't it? What you're seeing is the airspaces, the kind of things that we can sort of ignore quite easily in a flight simulator, but can be really can be there in helping us to plan a route around airspaces. But we don't need all this detail. So and the easiest way, I mean, you can have a look at the vast array of data that's available on Little Navmap, and it also links in with other services as well, if you have those. But we're able to just remove the detail we don't want. So view details, less detail. We're losing what I really kind of want. I don't mind that more detail there. These are additional airports, so you can see they stand for whether the airport is a grass or a hard landing or whatever. Actually, what's getting in the way and making that I happen to know is the airspaces. So it says show airspaces. If I go down to view airspaces, I can unclick show airspaces and they'll all disappear. But I've also got the nav aids that we need here. So you can see a little more detail about what Navmap's offering. I think moving on from where we were just before we looked at the flight plan, if you remember, we put it forward. We started with SimBrief, and then we imported from SimBrief into Little Navmap, and then that allowed us to look at the route in some detail, and then we've come out onto the runway here. What I now need to do is just to load that flight plan into the X-Pane 1000 navigation unit, which is to the right here. Now this took me ages to master, even though it's really simple. Okay, so when the unit first starts up, it's in a navigation screen. All you need to do is to move the cursor to the right of the smaller knob. The knob extends out, and underneath it, it's got two rings that turn. So there's this one here at the front, where you can see the smaller knob, and behind it there's a larger knob. So all you need to do is to turn the first one, or turn the bottom one, sorry, one click. Okay, and that is going to take me through the options under navigation. Okay, but if I click flight plan, then I click the upper knob, you'll find that it goes to the flight plans that are in store. Okay, I'll do it for you again because it's easily forgotten. I'll put it into clear, which is the way it is. So if you're looking to navigate, you can navigate through various menus just on this navigational level. Okay, using the larger knob. If you press flight plan, you move into a different array. Don't worry about all this lot because we're going to load a new flight plan in. Come to the outer knob and click on the right, and that brings up the flight plans. Okay, press the knob, okay, and then again you click on the outer side of the knob where the small arrow is, and you bring it right the way down to the flight plan that you want. And I happen to know that EGLC is where we are and EGPH is where we're going, and somehow there's 01 ended up in the FMS flight plan. Then you press enter, and what that immediately does is it loads the flight plan in the sim now, and you can see it there. Okay, and then if we click over to it's just telling me that there are some details missing in the flight plan. That's fine. If we click over to the flight plan, you see the flight plan has changed. Okay, and very often it will put it'll take the destination, sorry, the starting airport in the flight plan, which isn't always helpful. So again, if you want to highlight a point in the flight plan, click, it'll go to solid color, move to rotate the smaller knob. That's wrong. Bit of trial and error. click, I'll do it again, click onto the, so it bolds, and then you go the larger knob and you go all the way through. Now when you find the way marker that you actually need, it's this first one, BPK, at 15 nautical miles, is the distance to that marker. You click the waypoint there, click, activate, and away you go. Okay, that's the first thing. So we'll need to find this way marker. But the second thing that we can do that's really useful is to click on the nav button here, and then you'll see that on the left hand side of the pilot flight display it says GPS, so it's navigating via GPS, and you have got two things that are going on here. Firstly, let's start with this one, it's easier. You've got the bearing that you're looking to fly on, and secondly you've got this second marker here. Now when this is set up properly, and it's not set up properly with a decent altitude, though 4,000 feet is not that bad, this will guide you as to where you need to turn, and also the pitch of the aircraft as well. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to move. I'm just going to have a quick look. If I press C, it'll get me outside the aircraft. I'll have a quick look and just get bearings on where I am. Oh, okay, so I see that there am I just down there, and I can see that that's the way that I need to travel to get to the runway, and we'll fly out this way, and then we'll make the turnings from there. Okay, and it's W to get back in. Okay, so off we go. I could be well behaved, but for the purposes of this particular exercise, I am actually going to follow the yellow lines. Looking from above will take me around. Okay, well, we're just about to enter the runway here. We won't pause. And there we go, so we've now entered the runway. Okay, I'm just going to brake there. Now standard checks is to check that the pitch and the roll are right, checking the rudder there to see that it's moving. Also check the flaps all the way down, all the way up. Always worth doing that. And I'm going to set flaps just to 10 degrees for the takeoff itself. And you can see that already that on the compass, the purple line, the track that we're trying to take has changed position as we've moved. Okay, so it's as simple as off we go. Now I mucked it up in another video and I said that the single propeller aircraft pull to the right, they pull to the left and use probably right rudder, and they pull to left because of the design of the blade on the propeller itself is always going to do that. There we are. Quite naturally wants to lift, but oh, maybe a bit of crosswind there. So just going to hold just for the moment. I'm just holding the altitude so we don't are holding the right track so that the runway is below, so we don't get into any other difficulty. It's a gentle climb here, and then we're going to follow. Now here's something interesting that's happening. You can see that I'm partly ignoring it. I'm the yellow dash in the flight display here rather than the purple one. And at the moment, the altitude, if you look on the right here, is sort of limited to sort of 600. We're going to change all that in a moment. I'm actually going to manually set the altitude to higher, to 4,000. Okay, I'm actually going to press it into autopilot now. You see what's happening there. But also I want to increase, I'll press altitude, increase the nose coming up there. And what this will do is increase it'll give us the rate of climb we need. Okay, so this is now an autopilot. It's flying from London. It will catch this bearing here when we need it. You'll see it's 14.7 mile away where we're headed. and it's just making an adjustment here to fly on the track. What's particularly interesting as well is we can go back to Little Navmap. I'll just do that for us if we go back to the map, and what you can actually see just on the bottom here is is the aircraft just making that track along that line. So you can actually see the aircraft moving over various features, so we can say that we know that we're just looking left down onto Stratford at the moment if we come onto this screen. So Stratford over here, and there's London in the background. So I think that's about as some Olympic features there. Didn't realise we'd get to those, but there you go. So yeah, essentially it's just an illustration of the combination of, you know, what we looked at. We looked at the basics of getting into X-Pane. We've looked at how we deal with multiple monitors, and a little bit of a hint there. We've looked at how we plan a flight using SimBrief. We've looked at how we use Navmap and how SimBrief and Navmap can work together. We've looked at how you pop that flight plan into the aircraft that you're flying, and we've set off as an example flying across to Scotland. So there we go. Okay, thanks a lot. Just looking out down into London still there, and have a great time. And if you thought the video was helpful, please make sure you subscribe. Thanks a lot.